Hi everyone and welcome to In the Sewers. In the Sewers is a series where I'll be talking to bands varying in genres of rock, asking them where they're going, where they've been, what they've been doing, and just having a bit of a chat. We're coming up with some amazing things and I can't wait to share it with you all. In this week's episode, I am talking to Will and Ian from the hard rock band Gone Savage. Now, Ian and Will have been around the music scene for quite a long time. Not too long. I'm not going to share their age, but they have picked up a thing or two about being in the industry and what it takes and what it doesn't. We chat about all sorts of things, including their EP that they brought out in 2021. That seems miles away, but we also chat about what they hope that they're going to have going on in the future, and yeah, it's just a lovely time. So let's get to it. Here's me talking to Ian and Will. Hi guys, thank you for joining me in the sewers. How are you all doing? You okay?
Yeah,
Wonderful,
great, thank you.
Thank you.
Great to be here.
Who have I got with me today? Who have I got the marvellous company of today?
So this is Will, singer in Gone Savage.
I'm Ian, the bass player in Gone Savage.
Lovely.
He says he's the bass player, but he does everything else as well.
Yeah. I'm on about town. So yeah, me and Will, we do virtually everything. So yeah, that's why there's a bass player and a vocalist.
Just having them extra people as well, that always helps.
Yeah, it'd be lovely. More help the better.
So you guys are more, I would say you guys are quite like a hard rock kind of band. How would you guys like to describe your sounds to people?
I'd agree with that sentiment. It's a hard rock. We take our influences from the 90s. Dokken, big one for me. So you know, it's got lots of melody, but it's hard rock. Will, it's a fantastic melodist, if that's the right word, Will. So it brings out like the lighter side of what we do, but it's always got a hard edge. But it's you know, we do vary our music, and Will, if you want to just like say we do other things that you know, that other kinds of music, we do all kinds.
We've been writing together for a long time, haven't we? Longer than I care to remember, to be perfectly honest, but decades, in fact.
Yeah.
And we've got another side project as well that is kind of lighter, but guitar-based rock. But Gone Savage is that we sit in a funny place because people kind of call us classic rock, but I don't think we really are. There's definitely a modern edge to it, or we try to put a modern edge to it.
Yeah, I can kind of see that how you do fall into that kind of category.
Yeah.
But like, especially with your latest stuff, you really seem to be pushing the envelope with that because you just recently released a new album as well, didn't you?
Absolutely, yeah. Well, it's not that recent anymore, is it? It seems to, it kind of feels recent, but yeah, 22, wasn't it?
22, yeah. So May 22, yeah, released Past Life.
Oh my
Yeah,
God,
yeah.
I didn't realise it was that long
Yeah.
ago. I've
Yeah.
lost 6 months, so I'm not entirely sure where I am.
Yeah.
As Will said, yeah, it's easy to chuck into the classic rock genre, but we've always written.
I think it's our age, that, and that's why we get chucked into there.
Well, I think it is. I think it's a bit of a, it's a convenient thing because we've always written music. So I've written music since we were about 15, and with Will probably from about 20s, 21, 22, and it's always been whatever we want to interpret, you know. So it's never been, well, we've heard this, so we'll do that. And so nowadays we're doing what we want to do, but we obviously we listen to music and we hear different sounds and we get different influences, but it's just the same process. So we're not reinventing classic rock as such. We're just doing our rock music.
You're in a bit of a limbo situation there, really, aren't you?
Yeah. But we're still going to just continue doing what we want to do, you know?
Yeah, because you're still gigging and you're still selling, you know, your CDs and everything like that, and you have your new releases. You get plenty of airplay as well.
Yeah, we do. Yeah,
the rock community, you know. So why change what isn't broke? You know.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think a lot of the classic rock is nostalgia as well. You get a lot of that drawn in. So people like, I was only speaking about this the other day. I went into a Triumph dealership, bike shop, and there was lots of bikes, lots of really expensive stuff, and it's like it's aimed at people like looking at nostalgia, got a bit of money in the pocket, and invariably they're older people. So that's where we can use our writing and our knowledge to harness nostalgia, but we don't want to be like classic rock as in dinosaur nostalgia, or a regurgitation of something that you heard in your youth. We don't want to be like a tribute to something. So
Yeah.
people get it, and we get people from like, older people and younger people, and they do get it. And it's amazing when you play to somebody who's younger, and then they realize that you've created that, because they look at it and they must see things on TV, so to speak, and think like, oh, it's brilliant, fantastic, I can never do that. So when you show that you can do it, they love it. And the comments from younger people are like amazing, but they don't go there first. So if you feed them it, they love it.
It was something that
Different.
Nicky Six said in an interview, in one of his rather random bits of wisdom he tends to put, and he actually said he feels kind of sorry for this generation in the fact that it can become a bit oversaturated in people trying to get their music seen and heard. But even just doing like it was back in the old days, you produced your album, then you went out and you gigged it on the pub rounds, if you want to call it that, and then you toured it and you did this and you did that. Where now, because you can just click a button and it's so instantly there, it kind of oversaturated the market. Do you think it's kind of gone that way? Because I think you guys have said you've been playing for not a very long time, but you've been playing for a little bit.
Quite a bit. It's definitely given it. Back in the day, 80s and 90s, whatever, when we was learning and playing in bands, you had to actually do something. You had to do more than nothing. So, and that sounds quite simplistic, but the thing is, you had to learn your instrument. You had to learn, obviously, learn these songs. You had to get your image. There was lots of things you had to do before you even know the opportunity. Then you'd have to probably drive somewhere if you could, or get a lift, or hike a lift from somewhere to a session room and try and basically get a gig with a band. And all that's through like could be through possibly word of mouth, but maybe through adverts and stuff. Really, really hard. And then after all of that, you had to do that with your band. Nothing like nowadays. And so a lot of people couldn't do that. So we used to call them bedroom stars and people like that, where they clearly could play, but they clearly couldn't do the next bit. They weren't confident. They couldn't get out there. They didn't know what to do, X, Y, or Z, or they didn't want to do it. And nowadays you've got this lovely computer here right in front of me. You can just press a little button and send it off, and you can live your own dream. That's a problem. So there's like 10 zillion people, including me and Will. Difference being, as Will said before, we're not doing it for any financial gain. We're doing it because we want to do it, and we do it, and we always do it as best we can.
Yeah.
The other people, there's a lot of sad people out there, sad as in being sad, not sad people doing it, that will experience that. And it's not the same. It's not the same, is it?
Yeah, absolutely. That's spot on. Yeah.
That's it. That's it. And that's what you're fighting against. So we're trying to be modern as in what we do in our outlook and what we write and record and produce. But we're getting tangled with all the social media and all that kind of thing that really, for me, is it's bollocks, isn't it? Really, excuse my French.
Yeah, it is.
But it's a necessity to create.
Ian loves it. He loves the social media stuff.
I love it, love it. But it's a necessity, and I completely understand it and embrace it, and I understand how the marketing of it works. But for me, it's like, well, hang on a minute, I'm trying to write music here that you want, and I can't. So come on. So there has to be some give. And unfortunately, that's where it's getting now with what we do, is a strangulation of that social media on what we want to do creatively. It's just absurd. Me and Will have written, crikey, in the last 5-10 years, 50 plus songs that we still have and all done, just need releasing. And we're now entangled, like I say, with social media. So it's like, it's the devil in Deep Blue Sea release. It's quite hard.
There you go. You can do like a bumper edition of your stuff. There you are. You just do a 4 CD thing like you used to do.
There's loads. Writing and recording, me and Will, we can do that all day long.
So how did you guys meet to become Gone Savage? Because like you said, you've done other things before. You've been in other projects and stuff like that. So how did you guys clash together to become Gone Savage?
We're all in kind of other bands around Manchester, weren't we? The main, Ian was in Sweet Sin with the original Gone Savage guitarist Andy. I was in a band called Sam Thunder with guys who now are in a band called Blood Red Saints. And of course, Jim, the original drummer, was in Dare with Darren Wharton. And we all kind of left what were at the time, what you might want to call hair metal, soft rock, I don't know, AOR, whatever you want to term it, bands. And I remember we were coming up with the name, and that's where we came up with the name Gone Savage, because we wanted it to be heavier than the three bands that we'd come from and do something a bit more hard edge. So yeah, we thought, well, we've gone Savage. There you go. Job done. Fine.
Gone from
Stamp
glitter and
approval on that.
hairspray.
So yeah, and we were all kind of from the Manchester area, really, which was a great scene at the time. There were some good rock clubs in Manchester, Rock World, and Gillies, and the Banshee, and we played at all these places. You know, that's where we kind of started, and it was harder in some places, like Ian said, because you had to actually get out there and do stuff. But because we were all kind of well known, even then in Kerrang magazine, you know, it was news that we had started a band called Gone Savage with members of Sam Thunder, Sweet Sin, Dare. And so we had a little bit of a foothold, and we ended up playing some good places, didn't we? And we played at the Marquee a couple of times, and you know, yeah, we got close to a record deal, which at the time you had to have, like I said before, because you couldn't do it yourself. No. You know, there was no such thing as home recording, and in anything that there was, you know, it was shit. It wasn't. You were never going to get anywhere near. You know, I'm really one of the biggest things that gives me the most pride with what we do now is when we're played on shows like yours, where you can play us in between Metallica and Def Leppard, and our music sounds like it's recorded to the same level as theirs. I don't personally, I don't think there's any difference to it, and that's something that you could never have done in the 80s and 90s.
How do you come up with some of your great things? Because like you said, you've got over 50 odd songs that you've done, you've sorted, you're not quite ready to unleash them onto the world. So how do you guys come up with it? Do you come up with lyrics first, or a theme, or is it just a riff that comes into your mind? Or how do you guys, you know, kind of melt it all together to create the great tracks that you guys create?
Well, I start it generally with anything. It can be I've got a few guitars in this room here, but I tend to write on an acoustic guitar, not the style, because it's comfortable for me. I play bass as my main instrument, so I'll use an acoustic. I might use a Spanish or something like that, or just a general acoustic, and I'll just either get a riff together, or a sequence, or an idea. Like I said before, I try to write some of the songs around a commercial aspects, as in length, time, arrangement, structure, put some ideas together, and then I give it to this guy and he polishes a turd. Brilliant.
Hey,
You've got to do something with it, haven't you?
I'm not a guitarist, Charlie, by any means.
No,
so
but
when
you
we
are.
come to, well, I can if I want to put a lot of effort into it and rehearse and learn it, and that's it.
That's all you need.
So you just basically you colour and blend each section, so you might have 3 chords going one way, and then a little bit added on, and then we'll do something with the melody and the vocal. So there's lots of things.
We bass it backwards and forwards, don't we?
Yeah, we do, yeah.
You know, Ian will send me an idea, and then I'll say, yeah, oh, that's great. You know, I'm not that keen on that bit. Well, we put that bit there and send it back, and then he'll send it back. I started writing a book actually called How I Almost Became a Rock Star, and one of the chapters in it was about. It was quite good. I was putting it on like a platform for writers, and it got really loads of people really reading it. And then I got a couple of offers, and then things happened, and it's still in process, shall we say. But one of the chapters was I wrote like the kind of how a song goes, and I picked one of the songs off the album, and it had 13 different parts to it. So from Ian sending it to me sending it back saying this, to then we did this, and we had 13 different versions before the actual version that got on the album. And that's not unusual. That's kind of how it goes, and that it's almost like virtual rehearsals, because we live at opposite ends of the country as well now, literally.
Yeah.
Do you? I thought you lived quite close. So where do you camp then? Where are you camping out at? Where are you living?
I'm in the New Forest, right near Bournemouth.
Oh God, that's pretty far down, isn't it?
I know, but it's close to the beach, which I love.
Yeah, and I'm in North Wales now, Charlie. Used to be in Leyland, Chorley, Lancashire, that area, but now I'm in
You just
North
take a
Wales
wrong
now.
turn in, or what happened?
Yeah, Landulus. So I'm in Landulus now, so that's where I live, and it's near the
He
sea.
started talking Welsh like that, and you know.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, you've not lost your accents though, so that's fine. That's all right.
No.
I'll never lose that.
It's kind of stuck now. That's it.
Absolutely.
Hey everyone, sorry to interrupt the interview mid-flow. I just wanted to say, if you like this episode and you want to see more, then don't forget to hit that subscribe button down at the bottom of the page. And if you want to be the first to see the brand new episode of In the Sewers, then don't forget to ding that little old bell. So come on everybody, ring my bell and let's get back to it.
So, what did you guys do in the 80s and 90s? Were you all in?
I'm afraid
separate
those
bands?
records are permanently sealed. We can't tell you
Oh no way!
that.
You know I love the 80s and the 90s. I'm a 90s baby. And then grunge came along.
Wow.
As I can see, you've got Kurt Cobain lurking in your background over there, my love.
I have, yeah, over there. Lemmy
Over
up
there.
there.
Oh, and up there. Oh, you got
Lemmy's
Lemmy up there.
Lemmy's up there. Yeah. And then there's all kinds of things like Floyd, a bit of Bob Marley.
So, do you guys enjoy doing the festivals and things like that, being on the smaller festival scene? Because it seems to be quite a nice kind of tight-knit community, or that's what I found personally, and I get a lot of love from that community. Do you love and enjoy playing for them as well?
We've done quite. We've really been on a bit of a hiatus, really, because we was talking the other night, and since about last big one we did was with Hard Rock Hell.
Yes.
No, 2018.
Right.
Then, yeah. So we haven't done a lot really, Charlie, because we spent 2019 writing most. Well, I was writing most material, and then round about 2020, you had COVID. So
We
me
were
and
supposed to do that Hard Rock Hell, weren't we?
Yeah, that's
you
right.
were, yeah. Actually,
Yeah,
you
at
were
the
meant
end
to
of
do that one.
2019, we was booked to play again. So yes, the answer to the question is yes, we would like to do more of those, but we just haven't had the opportunity recently. So
I know what you mean. It's a good community thing. It's great. It's like what, to me, it's like walking into an old rock club in the 80s where you're all together, everybody's on the same page. It's full of my son, who's now 18. I've managed to indoctrinate him into proper music from the age of about 5. And I remember I took him.
Right.
We went to a Stone Sour gig, and when he was probably 10, and he said, "These are like my people, aren't they, Dan?" And I was like, "But yeah, he's got there. He's made it. He's got it. He's understood it." And it's just like that walking around Hard Rock Hell. I found that you're kind of with your tribe, and I loved that. Yeah,
because that's the main thing. It's like, nobody judges anybody there at all, and you can be as free as a bird, you can be up the corner on your own, you can be amongst it all, you can be anything, and nobody judges you for that. But even though you guys don't fall into the new wave of classic rock, if they want to call it that, you do play the heavier, harder stuff, but it brings everybody together no matter what they like. That's the main thing that I like about the smaller kind of venues. So are you wanting to kind of get back into that maybe next year then?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the last one we did, that was actually, I think it was the AOR version. And I think we were probably by a mile the heaviest band there. I remember thinking, "Cool, we're pinning people against the back wall with this." And they were, one minute they were listening to Night Ranger and then they were listening to us. And I thought maybe we should have gone for Hard Rock Hell, not the AOR version. But you kind of, we don't, when you're in it, you think, well, we're not that heavy. But then when you actually listen to our stuff, I think actually it's quite heavy.
Obviously, we can't pick the festivals. Things like Call of the Wild be fantastic, stuff.
To be honest, I think you'd go down pretty damn well at Call of the Wild, because it has quite a variation of rock there, especially between the third tent, the second stage, the first stage. Like there's just something for everybody there, and you don't have to be part of a particular group. Everybody just pulls up the chairs and they sit there and they enjoy it.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we want to do. Get into that community, as Will said, and once we can get that, as I said before, we haven't had feet on the ground. We'll get the feet on the ground. We'll get the momentum.
So what I have been asking people is for their hot take of the music industry. So what I mean is something that either people expect you to like or people expect you to dislike, or even a guilty pleasure. Do you have a guilty pleasure band that you think, oh, people just wouldn't want me to like that?
Ian, go on.
Several, haven't you, Will? You got several.
I've got quite a few of these, yeah. But I've always got a little excuse for them as well.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, you see, there's nothing wrong with that. So probably my guilty pleasure one would be what you would call, she's a Christian rock country singer called Amy Grant.
Right.
And she had a couple of hits in the 80s. And the reason I started listening to her, and bear with me, do you remember a band called Giant?
Yes.
In the 80s?
Yes,
Dan
yes.
Huff,
They just brought out some new stuff.
fantastic guitarist, one of my favourite all-time guitarists, Dan Huff. Well, he's a session guitarist as well, and he wrote and did all one of her albums. So I thought, well, I'll listen to it, and because Dan Huff's done it, I thought this is fantastic. But then it kind of got me into her a little bit, and so I started listening to it more and more. A mate of mine in Bury as well, he used to listen to it. We actually went to see her at the Manchester Apollo. We were like surrounded by all this Christian rock stuff. It was great fun. It wasn't like going to a Slipknot gig, but
Yeah, man, sometimes you have to take the light stuff with the heavier stuff, you just have to,
yeah.
It's all about balance, isn't it?
Yeah.
How about you, Ian? What have you got?
In what respect there, Charlie? Guilty pleasure?
Yeah, go on, give me a guilty pleasure.
Guilty pleasures? Oh, I like Carpenters. I mean, that's a classic one. Everybody says the same. Oh, Elton John. I like Elton John.
Oh.
Got into, I don't know how I got into this recently, because I never liked it, because of my love for Lynyrd Skynyrd, Neil Young. Because in the song, obviously Sweet Home Alabama, and they had a big fallout with Neil Young, but I like it. It's so good, really good. Harvest Moon, listen to that the other night.
Oh, I'll have to give that a
That's
Check it out. Yeah, it's fantastic. So that's the kind of thing. But I generally don't listen to that much rock, other than I keep my eye on what's coming in. So the obviously, like you said about people like popular bands and such like. I'm trying to think of Last Crest. Probably with unknown bands, but small bands, Massive Wagons.
Love Massive Wagons. Love the
I do.
guys and the guys.
I like the whole way that they do things.
I'm a huge Bon Jovi fan, as a lot of people know. I adore Bon Jovi, I really, really do. But even as a die-hard fan, as what I have been, I will admit that it's not what it was. Even if you just go as far back as when Richie Sambora was still in the band, they had started to change their sound, but there were still elements to it that still worked. And I think just since then, it's not words. That's an example of a great band that just really hasn't rolled with it, unfortunately. They did in the 90s. They changed their sound in the 90s from what they had in the 80s. They came back with It's My Life in 2000. They changed their sound up again. But do you think that's kind of the key for bands to stay relevant? Is it just as easy for them to keep regurgitating the stuff that they've done, or is it better for them to kind of morph their sound with where they are in life at this present?
I think you've got to progress in some way. If you want to carry your original fans with you, and obviously you'll have some diehards that will just buy and go along with whatever you do as a band, especially a big band like that. But you have to, for me, to keep everybody with you, you've got to progress even a little bit. There's got to be some sort of change and progression into a more modern sound. And one of my favourite all-time bands is UFO.
Yes.
And I thought they had progressed. Might have been minuscule, but they were their last album that they did, the last studio, sounded modern to me. When I played it to Jack, I said, "What do you think of this?" And he's like, "Yeah, it's pretty good." And because it had a modern sound to it, whereas I won't use Iron Maiden anymore, but say Judas Priest, their new album, again, there's nothing different about it from the 80s to me. It's almost like they're trying to recreate it. And yeah, I'll stop my rant now.
Yeah.
I mean, one thing that people have been talking about in the AOR community, I mean, it's been rumbling on for a long while, is the fact that one great band that, I mean, a lot of people only know from one song is Autograph.
Yes.
But there's not one original member in Autograph anymore. It's just a bunch of guys just singing Autograph songs. Do you think maybe they should just, you know, go off and do their own thing rather than trying to clean on? Because they're suing the original, I think it's the original guitarist who actually started the band. They're trying to sue him for the rights to the catalogue and to use the name, because there's not one original member left in it.
Like Foreigner. Foreigner's similar, isn't it? You know, there's
Yeah.
no members of Foreigner in the band, but I'm sure they won't do that kind of stuff. But yeah, that's bizarre. That is, you know.
Yeah, you think, it's almost, I don't think I agree with it, that if there's nobody that's an original member, I don't know, but it's a difficult one, isn't it? Because
it's
again,
just-
you use UFO as that, you know, Vinnie Moore, who's the guitarist, he's been the guitarist in them for longer than anyone, but he wasn't an original member. So if anything happens now and, you know, you lose the other two original members that are there, is he justified in continuing as UFO, even though he wasn't an original member? I don't know.
Yeah, it's just an odd one, isn't it? There's quite a lot of bands that are from that kind of time period or that genre, that AOR kind of genre, where there isn't actually that many people who were there to start with, and they've just like swapped and changed and done and everything like that. And it's just a bit, you know?
Yeah, I can't name another Autograph song other than Turn Up the Radio. I bet many people can't either.
To be honest, I have to look them up. I'm not gonna lie. I have to
That was a
look 'em up.
fantastic song, though. That was superb.
Brilliant, brilliant. It's like Chesney Hawks, isn't it? I
I
didn't
know, he
realise
just turned up
that
and
one,
it's-
Chesney Hawks, the 1 in 10, was written by
The one and only.
one and only. Sorry, was written by
1 in 10. You're giving out odds.
I don't know what that is. I think it was Man of War or something like that.
Nick Kershaw wrote that. Do you know that?
Did he?
Kershaw wrote
Nick
it.
Kershaw. Yeah, I found that out the other day. So there you go. That's listening to Radio Lancashire.
Perfect. Well, we're nearly out of time. So is there anything that you'd like to say to your fans of so many years? Any advice to give the youngsters out there who are on about giving it a try? What would you like to say to everybody?
Yeah, to youngsters, I would say don't just stay in your bedroom. However tempting it is to, you know, you can reproduce Eruption by Eddie Van Halen, but you've got to get out there. You cannot stay in that bedroom. Put yourself out there and you know, you're going to get people saying, oh, that shit, what have you just done? No, do something else. And you've got to be able to take that kind of, you know, full on criticism, but you've got to get out there and do it, because that's where you'll continue if you do that. You can't just sit and be a bedroom, you know, jockey for your whole life. You've got to actually get out and see people, because that's, like I said about 3 times now, this community is fantastic, and that's where it is. And so you get out, meet people, meet other musicians, and do it in front of people.
Yeah, totally agree. Yeah, totally agree, Will. And they'll support you as well. I mean, as you know, Charlie, like, you know, nobody in the rock community is going to come up to you unless you're an absolute end and say you're doing it wrong. They're not going to say that. They're not going to say that. They're going to at least get into what you're trying to do, and probably, hopefully, enjoy what you do. And I say to people as well about writing, I find it so bizarre, because we've all got things nowadays, technology and whatnot, to record, or to at least start the basics of a song, or or once you've done that, to be able to create it and get it out and let people hear it and do it. And it's so easy. And then once you've got the confidence to do that, then get it out there. You can release music anywhere these days. As Will was saying, back then in the day, you had to have like at least a contract, at least a label, and at least X, Y, and Z. You couldn't just do it. You couldn't do it, you know. So now you can do it. Embrace it.
Just get out there and just give it your all.
Yeah,
absolutely. Get out there and do it.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, guys, for taking the time out to talk to Glamrat in the Sewers. It's greatly appreciated.
Thank
I
you,
can't
Charlotte.
wait for new music to come out. You know where you need to come when you have got it. We'll have another little chat then as well. But thank you
Definitely.
so much, guys, and please stay safe and take care, and we'll see you soon. Bye.
Thank you.
Charlie.
See you later. Bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Thank you to Ian and Will for taking the time out to talk to little old me in the sewers. Make sure that you follow Gone Savage on all social medias. I will drop them in the description below, and do check out their music. But like they said, they've got some plans in the works, and hopefully they'll get back to gigging with us all on the circuit very, very soon. Make sure you tune in next week, where I am talking to Steve, who is the glam metal frontman for hard rock band Baranovich. We talk about his musical influences, we talk about his hollybobs, and also what the guys have got planned going into 2024. And the lovely Bruce the Cat makes a nice little appearance. But make sure you stay safe, and until next time, catch you later, Glamratters. Bye bye.